What's up guys, it's Darren. Have you ever been in a sales presentation where it's kind of felt like it's you versus the customer, where you're kind of arguing back and forth the entire time, where you're trying to convince them and they're trying to resist against what it is that you're saying? Have you ever wondered how you can make someone want to buy? The good news is it can be done, but first you have to understand what is it that makes someone want to do something. See, people want to do things purely based off of emotions, based off of feelings. That's what drives human behavior. Why do you eat? Because you feel hungry. Why do you eat ice cream, a pint of ice cream in a sitting? Because you feel sad and hungry. Why do you decide to go to the gym or to read a book? It's because you feel motivated. Or perhaps you might not feel motivated at that moment, but it's in anticipation of a feeling. You know that by going to the gym afterwards, you will feel good about yourself. Everyone makes decisions and their behaviors are based off of feelings. Even if you think it's the most altruistic thing, like doing volunteer work, it's not because people are sacrificing and get nothing out of it. It's because after they do the volunteer work, they feel good about themselves as a person. Now, when it comes to buying things, to a sales presentation, people also make decisions emotionally, they buy emotionally, and they justify logically. And that's what most sales is based on, emotional appeals. But not all emotional appeals are created equal. See, the difference between convincing someone to do something versus them wanting to do something is how big is the emotion, how big is the feeling gap. For example, if you're already happy with your current fitness level, so you're here and you think that you could be a little bit better, you might want to be here. There might be a small gap between where you want to be and where you are. But if the gap is small, are you going to take massive action to close that gap? Are you going to go on an insane diet and do crazy, ridiculous workouts and change your lifestyle completely? Probably not. See, when it is that people take massive action and want to do it, is when there's a massive gap. You probably are used to hearing this referred to as rock bottom. But the thing is, everyone's rock bottom is different. See, when I first started thinking about this, I would think rock bottom would be someone who's homeless, someone who's addicted to drugs, someone who is in terrible, terrible health or some situation like that. But the reality is that everyone's rock bottom is different. For you, rock bottom might be binge watching too much Netflix. It might be eating too much junk food. And when you get too far out of alignment from who you see yourself as, that is your rock bottom. Rock bottom is not a place. Rock bottom is a gap between places, the gap between how you see yourself and where you are currently. And when that gap is big enough, that's when you want to start eating healthier. That's when you want to stop watching TV, when you want to get into the gym. No one needs to convince you. No one needs to sell you. You become motivated to do it yourself. And before that gap is too big, if someone tries to get you to stop watching Netflix, to start eating healthier, you resist it and you fight against it. See, the way to sell is not to convince, it's to stretch the gap to make them feel like they're at a rock bottom so that they want to fix the gap themselves. So typically in sales, you're going to hear talking about benefits, talking about problems that your product fixes. Now that is essentially looking at where they want to be. How you stretch the gap and make them want it is you have to establish the other boundary, and that other boundary is where are they presently. Now, if you don't take the time to really illustrate the pains of staying the same, then they're going to have this want, but they won't know where exactly is their present situation. The gap is ambiguous, so you need to make that gap as big as possible by not only talking about what they're going to get, the benefits or the problems that solve by getting your product or service, but you also need to talk about the problems if they stay the same. And this gap needs to be bigger than the pain of change, because there is pain associated with changing vendors, with changing services, with changing products. There is risk, there is fear, there is concern, there is laziness. You need to make that gap between having your product and not having your product bigger than the pain gap of change. Now, this feeling gap that motivates people to take action, it's all based off of feelings and emotions. But you absolutely do not wants to do something I've seen a lot of people do before, which is go into sales calls and start talking about feelings. For the love of all things that are holy, it is so weird. Do not ever say to a business person in a business sales presentation, how would that make you feel? You sound like a psychologist or psychiatrist. It's strange, it's weird, it gives off strange vibes. Don't do it. So if you can't talk about feelings, how do you get to the feelings? How do you build this emotional gap? Well, the answer is you basically just ask people why. So if someone, let's say for example, I was looking at a new accountant because it's nearing tax season right now here. If I called up an accountant, they would not want to just quote me rates and quote me timelines and stuff like that, because that doesn't sell anyone. What they would want to do is ask me questions like, okay, well, yeah, we could do your taxes for you, but tell me, why is it that you're looking for a new accountant? Is this something new? Have you had someone do it before? Oh, you already have someone? Well, why is it that you're not just using the same person again? What is it that you're looking to get out of a new accountant? And what you're going to get from me is me saying things like, oh, well, I don't like my current accountant because he messed up this, he messed up that. And that's where I start talking about my current situation and my feelings without you asking how I feel. Now, once you have these emotional reasons why, it's really important that you actually use them, because typically you're going to discover these in the first part of the sales call during the discovery, and by the time you get to the closing portion of the sales call, that may not be at the forefront of their mind. So when you ask for the order or when you handle their concerns and their objections, it's really important to bring up again their emotional reason why. If they say, I'm not really sure, you can really easily just say, hey, totally understand if you're not really sure. But, I know you did mention earlier that it was really important to you to have an accountant that wasn't going to make those same mistakes that cost you thousands of dollars in your tax rebate. Is that something that you think would be worth it? And when you bring it up like that, it's not going to be an argument. It's not going to be this back and forth between the two of you. It's simply going to be you reminding them of why they already want a solution to their problem. Now, if you think this is going to be helpful for you, then hit the like button below because it helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. And if you'd like more advice like this on how to improve your sales and improve your business, then feel free to also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be kept up to date when I'm posting new videos. If you have any questions or anything in particular that you'd like me to cover in a future video, feel free to go ahead and comment it below and I will respond as soon as I can. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.